Background: I, 24-year-old female, live with my roommate, a 23-year-old female, in an apartment in the suburbs of Atlanta. As you may know, Atlanta is super dangerous and crime-riddled right now, so we have a Ring peephole camera, perfect for apartments, and a digital lock on our door for safety. Now on to the story. About 3 months ago, the sweet family from across the hall moved out and we got a new neighbor. His name is David, and let's just say he's interesting. When we first saw him moving in, we were a bit taken aback by the sheer amount of stuff he was trying to fit into his one-bedroom apartment. All of it was anime merch and Star Wars memorabilia. Definitely gives me hoarder vibes, but not my business. When the moving trucks left and a few days had passed, my roommate and I knocked on his door to give him a welcome to the neighborhood gift basket with some baked goods, dog treats, and poop bags for his dog and seasonal candles. Apparently, this was not the correct thing to do. After that day, David got creepy. It started out innocent enough. He would come to the door whenever he heard me or my roommate coming or going to have a quick chat, or he would come over regularly and ask for salt or sugar or toilet paper. Sometimes he would ask if he could come over or we could come over and watch his dog, but within the past 2 weeks, things have really escalated. 2 weekends ago, we were out pretty late partying at the bars near the Brave Stadium. We ended up getting home around 3 a.m. only to find David sitting at the top of the stairs waiting for us. He acted all upset, asked us where we had been, and requested that we tell him if we are planning to be out past midnight. I laughed in his face, and he called me a mindless Stacy, still not sure what that means. He also asked for access to our Ring camera so he could make sure we are safe. We laughed at him again and went into our apartment. Here's the scary part. We checked the Ring the next morning, and he sat outside his apartment staring at our door for the rest of the night. When we saw that, we contacted the complex to let them know that he was acting crazy. They told us to contact the police, so we did. The police told us to contact them if he made any threats, but since we lived in a shared space, they couldn't do anything until he entered our apartment or threatened us. I assume the complex said something to him because he left us alone for the next 5 days or so. This week, he is out of control. He is constantly sitting outside our apartment. My roommate has started leaving for work an hour earlier so that she doesn't cross paths with him. I cannot leave the apartment during the day because he is constantly waiting outside for me. He has asked me out, left love letters on our door, on our cars, and in our mailbox. I told him once that I wasn't interested, and he told me that he would kill himself if I didn't go on a date with him. Of course, I don't have that in writing, so the police won't do shit. He also has put up a Ring doorbell of his own so he can track all of our movements and will leave really creepy sexual notes when we are gone so we find them when we come back. What do we do? This happened in 1989. I had given birth to my son early in the morning the day before. I'd lost a fair bit of blood, but had been up walking at least once by then, so wasn't too dopey. My son was sleeping in his bassinet next to my bed. A nurse I hadn't seen before came into my room and grabbed hold of one end of the bassinet and started to pull it away. I grabbed the other end and said, "What are you doing?" She said she was taking him away for his blood tests. Now, I happened to be a registered nurse, and I knew what sorts of things were done to newborns, and he'd already had his tests. I pointed to the Band-Aid on his heel and said, "He's already had his tests, so what sort of tests are you talking about?" And she muttered something about not being sure, but there was some test he needed. I maintained my fast hold on the bassinet and told her to find out what test and then let me know. She went away and never came back. And honestly, I was so out of it I never even thought to mention it to anyone, but the fact is, several babies had been taken that summer by imposters dressed in uniforms, so I will never know for sure, but it felt like we dodged a bullet. I used to work at a small neighborhood gas station. I was working an opening shift at 6 a.m. with my best friend/coworker. We were doing our normal opening stuff, and as the sun came up, I went to get some ice from the back. For reference, the gas station building used to have a drive-through, so we have that kind of window in the back. I glanced at that back window and realized there was a literal bloody handprint on the back window. I looked closer, and there were smudges of blood around the window handle that looked like someone was definitely attempting to slide it open. We were really freaked out, so we went to look around other potential entrances around the building. I looked at the window in front and noticed dried blood on the hole where we take money for gas from outside, like someone was trying to stick their hand in to get something inside. I keep looking around, and there was also dried blood on the front door handles, plus some spatters on the glass, like someone was pounding on the glass. My friend and I were both freaking out at this point. So luckily, I had access to the security cameras, and I checked them for any motion detected during the night. At 5 a.m., there was a motion capture, and we watched as a man with his arms covered in blood walked around the store trying to get in. The freakiest thing was usually the store is opened at 5 a.m., but it happened to be a Sunday, so we opened at 6. Really dodged a bullet there. There were police lights in the distance on the cameras, so we called the sheriff. He showed up pretty quick, watched the security footage, and confirmed it was a guy they picked up just a little bit after 5:30 a.m. Craziest thing that has ever happened to me in my 3.5 years of working at gas stations. A little bit of background. I, 23-year-old female, was 20 at the time. I moved in with my uncle in San Antonio, Texas, with the agreement that I didn't have to pay rent as long as I helped him out with chores and my cousins. I got a job at a super-known coffee chain downtown close to the touristy part of the area. We had a lot of regulars and a lot of homeless coming in and out. I felt relatively safe, though, because I got to know the people there, and it was almost always a lot of foot traffic. I used to even take walks after work in the area, especially since I was super close to the Riverwalk. Skip to a couple months into the job, and I was friends with everyone I worked with. We were all super close. On this particular day, it was one of my coworkers' last day. There were about 3 guys who had been in there almost all morning. They hadn't bought anything and were just hanging out, which was not unusual for my location. On my break, I decided to walk down to a nearby drugstore so I can get a farewell card and maybe a small gift for said coworker. I walked out and put my earphones in, and before I could press play, I hear the door open behind me and footsteps following behind. Whoever it was caught up to me and started walking beside me, matching my pace exactly. I turned to look, and it was one of the guys that had been there all morning. He was a bit taller than me and reminded me a lot of Lakeith Stanfield. He tried to ask for my number, and I kindly told him no. He persisted, and I, with a short temper, told him to fuck off. He stomped and stared at me in surprise, as I don't look like someone who speaks up or would be rude. He stood there as I walked away, and by the time I went back, they were gone. I proceeded to tell my coworkers about the encounter, and we laughed it off. I thought that would be the end of it. I was wrong. Every shift after that, he would already be there just hanging out or would walk in mid-shift, sometimes with somebody else and sometimes by himself. I assumed he was just another homeless person because how else was he always able to be around? My shifts were sporadic. Some days I opened, some days I closed, some days I worked mid, but it didn't matter. He was always there. At that point, I started feeling paranoid. I would always catch him staring in my direction. He never ordered anything, never talked to me, and luckily wouldn't follow me. He would just sit there, watching me. I started mentioning it to my coworkers, and they started noticing it too. One of my team leaders would help me out by sending me to wash dishes in the back or organize the cooler. My coworkers would also try and place themselves to try and block me from his view. I started feeling uncomfortable at work. Sometimes when I closed, a coworker would walk me to my car before heading home themselves, or if I didn't close, they would walk me to my car and turn around and head back to work. Then one day of him just staring, I was working the register that day. He walked up and ordered a water. I asked for his name for his order. I now had his first name just in case. He took his water and sat down. I had mentioned him before to my manager, but because he hadn't really done anything, we couldn't do anything besides note it in the manager book. The next day, I worked with my manager. It was him, 2 other coworkers, and me. I told them I had to go to the bathroom real quick. There were 2 bathrooms right next to each other, but sort of hidden from the coffee bar and register, and they weren't gender-specific. I walked around the bar to the lobby area. I had to pass his table and walk down the lobby to get to the bathrooms. I noticed him get up before going inside the bathroom. I sat down to do my business when someone rattled the knob. I shouted out that it was occupied, but whoever it was kept rattling the door until I finished. When I opened the door, no one was there, and walking back, I noticed him adjusting back into his chair. I was super freaked out and told my boss. He couldn't tell him anything because we had no proof that it was him. Later that shift, he got up and picked up a coffee from the pickup area. My boss assumed he had ordered it and let him take it. I told him it wasn't and that it wasn't even his name. My boss used this as an opportunity to tell him if he does something like that again, he can't come back. The man apologized and actually stuck to the rules every day after that. He went back to just watching me. Cut to Valentine's Day. One of my team leaders and I would be scheduled to work certain Thursdays after close to deep clean the store. We would stay until 1 a.m. This was one of those Thursdays. We were almost done, and I had to clean the bathrooms as one of the last chores. I finished, and as I walk out of the bathroom, I see him peeking in with both his hands pressed to the window, eyes wide, just staring at me with this super intense look. I froze for a second, just staring back. I notice on one of his palms that is pressed to the window a purple foam heart. He doesn't move at all. I freak out and run back into the bathroom. I shout, "Hannah, Hannah, he's here, he's back." She barely hears me through the music we were blasting. Hannah was the team lead who would help hide me from him, so she knew the huge fear I had towards him. She walks towards the bathroom, shouting back, "What are you saying? What's going on?" As soon as she gets close, she sees him. I told her again, "He's here, he's watching me." She started shouting through the window, "You need to leave. If you don't leave, we are calling the police." I step out a little to see if he'll leave, and he's ignoring her, and his eyes were fixated in my direction. I step back into the bathroom, and my lead continues to shout at him to leave and threatens him with the police. About 5 minutes pass, and he realizes that I'm not stepping out until he leaves, so he does. The next day, my lead and I told my manager I want to file a police report, and he tells me no, to wait until he talks to his boss. He shows up again that day, but I was only there to talk to my manager, and I leave right after. When I got home, a friend convinced me to call the cops. So I text my boss that I don't care what he or his boss say, and I'm scared and I'm going to file that report. I dial 911 and tell them a summarized version. They tell me they're going to send someone to where I live to take an official report. The 2 officers were so nice and supportive. I told them my whole story and how my boss didn't feel the need to get cops involved since I wasn't harmed. The officers told me that I should have called right away and defend me, saying they can get him for harassment. I thank them, and they tell me that if he shows up to dial 911 so they can take him in for trespassing and harassing. I think that day my manager banned him and warned him because he never showed up to the coffee shop again. A few months later, when I was comfortable again with downtown, I went out with some friends to walk around. We were close to where I worked, and as we round a corner, I see him, and so I ducked into a little corner store, and my friends follow. I told them I saw him, and they kept an eye out. Once he was out of view, we left the store, and that was the last time I saw him. Okay, so this just happened to me. I'm a 28-year-old female, and I'm sure I will not be able to sleep. My boyfriend is not answering the phone, and I need to get this out. My company organized an event for the clients and the staff at a luxury hotel. Everyone partied, and I got into my room an hour ago. It's 3:27 in the morning here. 15 minutes ago, a guy entered my room with a bottle of water. It woke me up as I was super scared. He says someone called from my room to order a bottle of sparkling water, which was a weird explanation as there's a mini bar and there's a corridor in the room before entering where I am in the bed. So basically, I am half naked in my bed. He comes closer to me at the level of the table, apologizing for the inconvenience, but he's still here. And I kid you not, he starts talking to me, saying how he's going to be in trouble, etc., and how someone called and he is so sorry, and the others got in the hotel super drunk, and it must have been a mistake, etc. I swear he has been standing super close to my bed for 5 minutes, and I was so shocked I was just saying, No, it's okay, I just got scared, really, no problem, just go. Well, he says he doesn't see me well, asks my name, twice. He says, well, so I guess I will wish you a good night then. He kisses me on the cheek like we French do, but once again I am half naked in my bed, dead scared, and he's in a suit, all dressed. Literally, I don't even know what I could have done. He left after the longest time, saying how he was sorry and how he would appreciate it that I don't tell anyone. And now the phone in the room just rang. I don't know if I should still be scared. Was he just confused by the mistake? I'm super scared, though I cannot think right now, and my heart is still racing. I just really need to have some rational feedback after this, really. I've been on this sub for a couple years now, had my own couple let's not meet moments, but for some reason tonight I just needed to share what happened. For context, I'm in school still and work for my family member on certain weekends at a local college selling concessions at the stadium. It's about once to twice a month, and the stadium is off towards the edge of town. It's Friday night. I had just gotten out of school, and I had to go straight to work. I get to work for 4 hours, half shift tonight, and my boss, who's my aunt, tells me we need more spoons for tomorrow's event. We sell ice cream, and these events have like 5,000 plus people at them. I say, okay, I'll go grab them on my way home. The only store open with heavy-duty spoons is all the way on the other side of town, and I still wanted to go meet up with some of my friends and mess around. I decide to take the faster but more sketchy way around the outskirts of town. I live in a weather bipolar state. It snowed last night, but I figured the roads would be fine enough even if they weren't plowed. I take off to the store, and the first 5 minutes go by and nothing's wrong. I haven't seen a single car or any buildings the entire time, but keep in mind it's approaching 9 p.m. and I'm on the outskirts of town, and no one really takes this way in case they really have to. All of a sudden, I see something in the corner of my eye, and it looks like a man, roughly 5'8", I'd say, wearing shorts, t-shirt, and a backwards hat. He's in the ditch, walking in snow when it's 10 degrees out. My first thought is to pull over, but I'm on the phone with my mom at the time, and she warns me not to, as some things have happened before in this town. For example, a couple of years ago, a college girl was kidnapped and found dead rolled up in a rug in 2014. I consider stopping, but for some reason I tell myself not to. I wasn't really worried about anything. I'm a young dude driving a big pickup truck. Last type of person anyone would want to harm, right? I passed the man, going about 40 miles per hour. Like I said, roads aren't the best. I drive not even 500 feet past him, and immediately a car that I did not see at all before turns on and pulls out of a field entrance off the road and starts to follow me. At first, I thought I just was focused on the man in the ditch and didn't see a road, and that's where they came from, but later found out there was not a road there. Now again, I'm not super worried. I've watched my fair share of crime movies and read plenty of stories on this sub, and I didn't feel it was a threat yet. I start to approach the town again and have to take some turns to get where I'm going. I turn left, the car turns left. I turn right, car turns right. I go around a roundabout and skip my turn and go twice as no one else was there. Car follows. At this point, I start to worry a little, but maybe they just need to go to the store also. I then pull up to a stop sign. I wasn't on the best side of town either, may I add, and I turn without my turn signal. The car follows. Now at this point, I should have went straight to the police station, but I still didn't think much of it. I'm 2 miles from the store, where plenty of people will be. I take a few more turns, and the car continues to follow me. I completely blew a stop sign at a non-busy intersection, and the car does a quick stop and go and catches up. At this point, I'm 2 turns till the store, so I'm still not too worried. I turn into the store, and the car turns also. The store also has a gas station, so I pull there first to act like I was getting gas. The car sits off to the side of the road, in between the gas station and the store, and just sits there. I wait about 10 minutes, and the car doesn't move. At this point, I start to get worried. I'm a young kid alone at night near the bad side of town. I call my friends I'm supposed to meet up with later on and give them the license plate for the worst-case scenario, then take off to the store. I cross the street, and the car comes straight behind me. I'm freaking out on the phone, not knowing if I should call the cops or not. I go and park as close as possible to the store, and the car parks 3 rows behind me and a couple down. It's getting late at this point, and the store's closing soon. There's only a couple others in the lot. I turn my truck back on and go park on the complete opposite side of the lot, get out, and I completely bolt inside of the store. I'm not super overweight, but I'm not skinny either. I'm about 6'1" and 200 pounds. Who would want anything to do with me? I get spoons, take my time in the store. I go to call my friends to walk back outside, and my phone is dead. I look out the sliding doors, and suddenly there's a white van next to my driver's side. Looks like no one's in it, but the back windows are covered, and it's running. Big red flag. I run to customer service and explain everything, but they think I'm some young kid messing around. At the time, I didn't see the original follow car, but no way in hell I'm going outside with that van next to my truck. After waiting what seemed like hours, about 30 minutes, the van pulls forward and the original car appears from the side of the building. You can see from the in-store Starbucks window they talked and both drive off. I wait another 10 minutes and dash outside. I speed to my friend's house, and when I get there, I park in his garage. My one buddy asked why there's a big orange mark on my tire, and my heart sinks. When I was inside, the follow car must have marked my tire. After inspecting the rest of the truck, we find a small pipe dropped in the bed of my truck, surrounded by snow. It was about 2 inches wide, and I'd say about 18 inches long, wrapped in duct tape. It was not mine. I was alone, no phone, scared, in a part of town I'm not familiar with. I try to laugh it off, but now that everyone's asleep, I can't help but think what would have happened if I walked outside. I've always been sort of ego-boosted on the fact I am a chubby fat dude that no one would want to mess with, but after tonight, I realize anyone can be targeted. So, creepy men who followed me all night and waited by my truck, let's not meet. Update. Police came and took the pipe today, as multiple of you said, and I knew already they can't really do anything about it, as nothing really happened. They said that they'll look into the license plate, but other than that, nothing much can happen. as no crimes were committed. Hello, little Vickies. Thanks for listening. Please subscribe if you like what you heard, and hit the like button and leave a comment if you have a suggestion or just want to say hello. I post every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday by 5 p.m. Pacific. If you have a story of your own you'd like to share and possibly have read on the channel, send it to me at veronica45stories@gmail.com. Link is also in the description, as are other ways to support the channel if you'd like. Thanks again for being here. I appreciate it beyond measure. And until next time, be good.